Years ago, I always remembered how the TV series Victorious was always about keeping your dreams and your hopes alive for your future because you should never be afraid to put all of your dreams into action. And I think that same incentive was always shared through the power of descendants in their stories because while their story was very different, they often encouraged us to keep our dreams and our hopes alive for all of our futures that I had the chance to be a part of. Having the chance to be a part of all of your futures and to have experienced these stories the way they've forever and always been truly meant to be represented became the greatest honor of my life and really a joy and a pleasure to be here. It's been an honor and a privilege for me to sit behind this microphone every night and share with you my story about how I became a fan of Descendants and Zombies, a story that I thought many people would have loved to have heard because underneath everything that I do, I'm just like all of you, and I really had an appreciation carry with me for your favorite characters for a very long time, long enough now to let the world know how I truly feel about Descendants and Zombies and never being afraid to put that on display, which is something I've often encouraged you guys to never hold yourself back from. So if you feel passionate about drawing or coloring your favorite characters, collecting all the dolls that come with being a fan, and putting them on display in your room, I've wanted you to feel encouraged more than ever before. Having said that, so many people have gone on to hear my message overseas in mountains, which means more to me than words could ever say. I've really had the time of my life being able to sit behind this microphone and record my thoughts and my opinions on Descendants of Zombies in the way of predictions where I think this franchise may be headed because we still have a long way to go. And I'm really excited to see how far we can make it down the road of history that we are all going to be a part of when it comes to these characters and their stories because they've exemplified strength. They've really represented empowerment so significantly. And I really love just being here with all of you to share my story with you about how I became a fan because it kind of just happened for me overnight when people were recommending Descendants of Zombies to me. Descendants really at the time because zombies had yet to be created. And I will never forget when zombies kind of just happened in February of 2018. Meg Donnelly was this beautiful girl who exemplified empowerment and strength in her own way. And she came from a very different background. Her family had no understanding of how the industry worked and she really had no acting experience. She had appeared on Sesame Street a couple of times, and I remember seeing her probably before many of you ever had the chance to know who she was. And I knew she had something special to offer, and I knew she was going to go on to become something special and something far more than that. And Zombies really allowed her to become a breakout star. And I remember how appreciative she was of that moment. It was a moment she became lost in and very appreciative of to have the chance to experience with all of us. And I remember how she would do these PR interviews and she was so appreciative of the opportunity Disney had given her. And I remember Clarke and feeling the same way, being so appreciative of the chance that Disney had presented her with. She had gotten an offer from Nickelodeon ever before she signed a contract with Disney. And I remember how she looked at her dad and said, we got to wait for Disney because this is my dream. I want to be a part of productions like Descendants and High School Musical, things she grew up watching. I've taken so much inspiration and incentive away from Kylie Contrell, and I like to believe that I've become a stronger person because of what Kylie Contrell taught me how to appreciate friendships and just love. Because sometimes friendships and love are very hard to find in this lifetime. So because they are very hard to come across in this lifetime, they are things that we should take the time to truly appreciate. Because when we do take the time to appreciate true love and friendship, we have a greater value to always take away from it. Like the story of Red and Chloe about how they randomly just kind of showed up in each other's lives and became the best of friends. Red will often be referred to as a Disney princess, and I really believe that she is well on her way, even though she's kind of taken exception to wanting to be a Disney princess and everybody's favorite. I think she is well on her way to becoming a Disney princess. And what Disney princess would she ever represent if she had the chance to be referred to as an actual Disney princess? I really don't know. I think she's presented the feeling of what it takes to be a true Disney princess in her own unique way, and she separated her Descendants character from every character we've already witnessed. I think every character has contributed to this franchise and these stories in their own unique way, from franchises of the past, this new franchise, and this new take on Descendants. They've all contributed so phenomenally. And I remember just being there to see the chemistry that was truly undeniable, especially for the cast of The Rise of Red, who were just there for each other every step of the way. I've heard Ruby Rose Turner refer to this experience as really a summer camp because once production wraps, you don't even know if you're ever going to see the people you work with ever again. All you have to remember them by are the friendships that you've maintained for what really feels like forever. The cool thing about Descendants was it brought people back together and brought them that much closer together as friends because Ruby and Kylie have been friends ever since the age of 9 years old. And I would venture a guess that many people who watch these videos probably have been friends ever since they were 8 or 9 years old, like I was with many people. I never really had a whole lot of friends, but I had two or three really good friends who I hung out with all the time. We had dreams of making it as an indie band. We were going to be indie rockers, indie rock stars, which never really fell through. We were either going to be indie rock stars, or we were going to be content creators, or we were going to be pro wrestlers if all else failed. And I chose being a content creator because being a content creator allowed me to share my story with more people than ever before, even with how unrealistic a dream of becoming a pro wrestler always seemed to be. I always had hope that I would go on to become a legend. And I know more than I ever had because of the stories I've shared with you about Kylie and Ruby and how passionately I felt about them. I will have more of a chance of going down in history for being the legend that I always wanted to be remembered for having been, because there is something called a legacy, and how you leave a legacy behind is through your cultural impact. And in order for me to be a legend, I've got to leave behind what's called a cultural impact for touching so many hearts from so many different cultures, which Descendants and Zombies has actually been able to do, and far more successfully than probably anything who's ever tried or that has ever tried to leave behind a cultural impact in its wake. Twilight was one of those franchises that obviously did. Stories from the Vampire Diaries and of course True Blood were obviously things that also left behind a cultural impact. Probably Teen Wolf could fall into that category. And I would have really loved to have seen Descendants and Zombies premiere around 2011. If you would have taken it back 4 years before 2015, I would love to have seen Descendants and Zombies kind of make its initial premiere back in 2011, because that would have been when Twilight was in its glee. That would have been the focus, would have been on vampires and werewolves more than ever before. And for sure, Descendants of Zombies would have had a lot to contend with because these stars were some of the most popular of their generation. I mean, people couldn't wait to watch the Vampire Diaries on the CW. People couldn't wait to watch reboots of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I was somebody who used to watch reboots of Buffy the Vampire Slayer long after 1997 because I used to be in front of my TV every night watching the WB network, watching episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. WB did a wonderful job promoting that years ago. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer went on to be shown on more networks than any other show that focused on vampires and demons and witches and werewolves, what have you. And I really would have loved to have seen Descendants and Zombies really try to hold its own up against all this, formidable competition. But I really think they would have really shined through. Because the thing is, there have been so many people who have been forever loyal to the people they've loved so much. And they've obviously held a very special place in their hearts for quite some time. When we really think about it and put this into perspective, 10 years have kind of come and gone, but people still talk about Descendants of Zombies like it's the coolest thing ever, like they just want to be a part of it. So I think we can really allow people 10 years after the fact to become a part of something that is truly special to all of their hearts. Because not just one Descendants of Zombies fan feels the same way. Every fan of Descendants of Zombies feels differently and have been made to feel differently, either because of the music, because of the fashion sense, because of having to deal with peer pressure, which is something we all go through. But the thing is, this story made us feel more relatable to these concepts than perhaps ever before or anything ever did. Because could you ever remember High School Musical for being as relatable as what Descendants of Zombies always shine through for having been? I don't think anybody ever recall being a fan of High School Musical for how relatable it always was. If anything, what got High School Musical over, it was the powerful music that helped tell the story. And their contribution to telling a story through the power of music is what always got High School Musical over and put it in the place of recognition that it forever and always remained in. It holds the record for a viewership of over 17.2 million viewers that night that High School Musical made its premiere on Disney Channel. But did you really take anything special away from it other than the music? I don't think you did or ever had a chance to. But Descendants of Zombies was something that was so powerful, and it really allowed these stars to come into an era of empowerment, which is something I really, really appreciated. I've often talked about this era of empowerment that we are currently experiencing and going through because I had the chance to be a part of every generation of Disney. And I myself have begun to feel empowered and stronger than I ever have because I feel connected to the fans of Descendants of Zombies in so many obvious ways for just how passionate we all feel about something as powerful as Descendants of Zombies. We've all taken something special away from the stories that these characters have shared with us. We've all saw so much potential in these character stories, and we will continue to for many years to come. I really love being here and having the chance to meet so many wonderful people along the way. And even with how many wonderful people I've already met, I know I have my work cut out for me because I still have so many wonderful people that I have yet to meet who have forever felt passionate about Descendants of Zombies and probably have felt more passionate than I ever have. because most of my passions never really made a whole lot of sense to a whole lot of people. I know I love putting my passion for stuffies on display, my wall nostalgia, my video game collection that I spend thousands of dollars on, which eventually became something more than that. It became something more than a passion for collecting video games. It became a passion for all things Descendants of Zombies, which I wanted to achieve more with. And what I mean by achieving more with this is seeing more exposure opportunities from the Worlds Collide Tour, seeing more of a chance to hear better music and more of a chance to see these stars become stronger than they've ever felt. Because in a show like High School Musical, the musical, the series, the thing is, High School Musical, the musical, the series may have given people like Leomani Segura and Meg Donnelly more of a chance than ever before, but shows like Descendants really allowed them to break through and really become stars that they've always deserved of being. And I really loved having the chance to be here to witness them grow. If there was one thing that I always took away from Descendants of Zombies, it was always having the chance to witness them grow and become the phenomenons they've always been meant to be. I've seen Leomani Segura become a far stronger person, getting on the ropes, enjoying her time, filming the music video for Perfect Princess, and looking stronger than ever because of these unbelievable workout regimens they have to go through and endure. And I always remembered how they always put so much heart and dedication into their roles. I think Pink is such a lovable character, and she ultimately is going to take the place of everybody's favorite character in this franchise. I would like to make an early prediction and say that Pink is going to be one of everybody's favorites for just how beautiful the girl actually is. The girl is undeniably beautiful. She's overflowing with talent. And I really believe that she has more of a chance than probably ever before for somebody to really see something special from within. If anything, what represents Leomani Segura's story is obviously talent and obviously more of a chance to be taken seriously by far more people than ever before. If you've ever seen any of her work before in High School Musical, the musical, the series, she had a chance to sing this song. It was called This Is Me. Of course, her version of the Camp Rock song. It was almost as if she was meant to be in Camp Rock 3. And for the first time ever, she will have the chance to don the stage and share the stage with people like Malachi Burton, who will be a part of Camp Rock 3, who are really going to set this one on fire. And I think people like Sage and Fletch are really characters that, would have ever been meant, if there were ever characters to have been meant to be a part of the Camp Rock franchise, it would have definitely had to have been Sage and Fletch because they were people who really set the bar for stars of this new generation. I think Leomani Segura is definitely somebody who's really come into her own, felt stronger than ever before, and really has set the bar for the standard, the gold standard of anything, for a girl to really aspire to be something special in Disney. And I think a lot of us have kind of shared in that same incentive. And I've kind of just loved being here to experience them grow, to really become a phenomenon overnight the way they have. And I think they are more than deserving to be in the positions they're in. I would be lying to you guys if I told you I didn't miss people like Ruby Rose Turner for the stories they contributed to the rise of Red, putting a greater exemplification on why the Queen of Hearts turned out the way she did. Now, as we face the consequences of time travel, the Queen of Hearts has become good. And I think this is really going to offer us more of a story than ever before because it's going to make Red realize just how much of a potential there is with this story to always take away something special from it. And I really do believe that by the time this story is through, Red is going to have a greater appreciation for everybody that she surrounds herself with, her sister, her mom, her friendship with Chloe. I know we may have heard a lot of ridiculous rumors about their friendship behind the scenes, but I've never really wanted to pay much attention to that, so I've kind of moved away from that. I focused on what always mattered. And what always mattered to me was always being that that guy that would say something nice, that would always come through with something nice always to be said about your favorite stars. For some reason, every single time I ever push record to record my thoughts on Descendants of Zombies, I'm either suffering from the common cold or what appears to be a zombie infection, and I do apologize for that. I have no idea what's going on with me, but I promise you guys I will get over the common cold, and I will record Descendants of Zombies videos for what will be the rest of my life, because we still have so much of a future with this one, and so much further to go. And I'm really excited to be a part of it with all of you because there is so much of a prediction to make. Like, what if the pocket watch became a locket and the locket served as the same significance as the pocket watch, only it was something different more than just traveling back in time? I've often talked about how they should change it up from the pocket watch and substitute the pocket watch for a locket because lockets really allow you to share a beautiful story. It allows you to encase a photo of one of your fondest memories with your friends, with your family. And I think there could be a significance for the pocket watch being substituted for a locket. That would have been really beautiful if they would have kind of changed it up, had red, special antique be the pocket watch, and probably pinks would be the locket. That would be really, really cool. That would be something fun to kind of look at. You see, this is why I've always wanted to be a writer and producer behind the Descendants of Zombies project, because I really do believe I have a lot of creative incentive to offer. So if you guys could give me like 50,000 likes and 50,000 subscribers, I would love to contribute something special in the way of a writer or executive producer for Descendants of Zombies. I would love to lend my hand to creating something special because we still have a long way to go. I want you guys to know, what I would like for you to know is that I have so much respect for your favorite stars. While I may be suffering from an itchy nose and the common cold every night that I do push record, I've loved sharing my thoughts on the futures of these stars because I believe they still have a long way to go. That is undeniable. They still have a long way to go, and they are really figuring out their place in this world. So we can really allow them to figure out their place in the world, but in such a special way because of so much love and support we've always seemingly carried with us for our favorite characters and all these wonderful moments. From the first moment that Addison punches Ed in the face and she realized that it would be cool to spend the rest of her life with him because she loved him so much. And their appreciation for each other was really at an all-time high. That's always what made Zombies so special for me, was realizing their appreciation for each other was really over the top and forever at an all-time high. And then what became Zed and Addison's story would eventually evolve into something much more than that. A story for Victor and Nova, played by Freya Sky and Malachi Burton, who were all excited to hear their story for the first time ever. We just got a glimpse in Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires. And when you really think about it, Descendants' new take has only been around for over 2 years. So can you really tell a story in just under 2 years and fully tell that story and have completed your story? I really think you never could. Because how can anybody who feels so passionate about something tell and complete a story in just under 90 minutes? Nobody ever could have the chance to do that. So with the consequences of time travel now being felt and awoken in Descendants Wicked Wonderland, it opens up the door for more spin-offs, more sequels, more opportunities for new characters, along with the characters who already told their stories to see expansions. And I know from the grapevine, from what I've heard, people like Kylie and Malia want to return to expand on their character stories because they love Red and Chloe's story so much, because there's such an appreciation to take away from it, in case you haven't heard. What Descendants is never was intended to be an arch. What Descendants was always intended to be was an arch. And I think that Descendants is it was never intended to be a trilogy, if anything. It was intended to be an arch, which is a story that can keep on moving forward and keep on going and going and going. And if you've ever wanted to believe in something, I think Descendants of Zombies gives you a chance more than ever before. And I really love being here just to experience Descendants evolve into something more than just a trilogy, which has eventually become an arch, because it's made people feel stronger than ever before. I can tell you from my own personal experiences, Descendants has really made me feel stronger because I had this desire to want to become everybody's favorite action hero. So much so that I began lifting weights again because I saw so much inspiration from your favorite characters who always wanted to do it. And I think it's about time for me to pick up the weights again and get in shape to become everybody's favorite character. Now, I have no idea how I would ever go about becoming everybody's favorite character, but it's just a random thought and kind of an imaginative thought that I always had because I saw heroes and people like Hercules and Aladdin every single time I watched them. And I just wanted to be just like them. I wanted to be just like them ever since I was 9 years old, kind of had that ability to really entertain people in ways they had the chance to. And I always remember them being so entertaining. I always enjoyed that conflict between Hades and Hercules, for how Hades always found Hercules to be perfectly infuriating. There was something so cool about that. And how Jafar always had this detestation for Aladdin, but Aladdin always wanted to come in and kind of save the day and win Jasmine's heart. That was something I always appreciated. From 1992 up until 1996, the Aladdin trilogy went on to become one of the most revered and recognized and often celebrated for just how beautiful the story actually was. Because what the story was based on was Aladdin's trust in Jasmine and her trust in Aladdin likewise, because that's what made them connect and feel intertwined. And I think that's always what's made people like Zed and Addison's story feel more intertwined than ever before, which eventually will mean something more to Victor and Nova, because Victor and Nova's story is something really, really beautiful that I think many of us should take a chance on, and perhaps more than ever before. Thank you guys so much for always having chosen this YouTube channel as your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel. We have so much to talk about and so much to get into, and we will pick up this conversation as soon as we can, as soon as the next opportunity presents itself, because we have so much to get into and so much to be excited about. July 16th is not that far away. It never really was that far away. You know, when we really think about it, this time last year, we were so excited about Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland happening. And now all of a sudden, Descendants 5 with Wonderland is finally coming into fruition. And we're so excited. It's really unbelievable to know that we've come so far in such a short amount of time. Thank you guys so much for always supporting this YouTube channel the way that you have. Thank you so much for always holding a very special place in your hearts for all things Descendants of Zombies and really giving me the chance to become a part of your stories and your worlds in the way that I had the chance to become, because I never imagined this YouTube channel would have went on to become everybody's favorite for just how passionate I felt about these wonderful stories and really all these nostalgic characters that you've often seen behind me. Thank you so much for believing in this YouTube channel and allowing me to become your trusted voice in all things related to Descendants of Zombies as we keep moving forward into what seems to be a very unpredictable future, but one that we are all about to be a part of, which is truly going to be something special in all of our hearts and forever and always remain that way, because that's something I intend on being a part of and always being for so many wonderful individuals. If you are somebody who has watched my videos for the first time ever this evening, welcome in. I would love to welcome you into the show, and I would love for you to subscribe here because I know you have a story to share with the world, to share with all of us. And your story could be one of the most beautiful ever told about how you became a fan of Descendants of Zombies. And I, for one, would love for you to be a part of these conversations. That may come at the expense of a guy who hosts a show near a local soda plantation and a chemical plant that may explode. But again, that's what makes these videos so fun, is that I seem to be the only guy who's ever voluntarily offered to jump inside of a vortex and possibly die, or to live near a supplementation and a chemical plant that could blow up and turn us all into zombies. It never comes easy, and you probably should leave this up to the professionals. But I've always loved having the opportunity to allow myself to bring these videos alive and to really take these videos further than probably anyone ever has. Having said that, thank you so much for always believing in this YouTube channel with all of your heart, and thank you so much for always trusting in me as your trusted voice of all things related to Descendants of Zombies. Again, we will pick up this conversation when the opportunity presents itself. I'm your host, Jonathan Clarke, and I will see you guys in the next video. Same bat time, same bat channel. I know I always say that, but Batman was always one of my favorite DC superheroes, and I think he was always one of Meg Donnelly's favorite superheroes too. So tune in next bat time, next bat channel, and thank you guys so much for always believing in Descendants of Zombies with all of your heart, because your heart really is your best friend. And all you really have to do to make sense of everything happening around you on beautiful days such as this one is really take the time to listen to your heart, because your heart is something you can always trust in and something that will always be your best friend and help you see everything through. Never ever forget that valuable piece of advice that was once shared with me some time ago. And always believe that Descendants of Zombies always has something in store, something so special for all of us to experience. And there's no better way to experience it than by experiencing it together. Thank you so much for always believing in this YouTube channel with all of your heart. And from my heart to yours, as always, thank you so much for always having watched these videos.